From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Cummins.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Cummins. Coming up on today's show, spring football starts. Lots to get to before practice begins. Luke and the boys on the hardwood prevail. They look strong heading into ACC tournament play. And baseball and softball sweep the weekend. Wake Up Warchant presented by Cummins. Cummins Lifestyle. Follow it on Instagram. Cummins providing portable, reliable, quiet power for everybody for over 100 years. But if you got like an RV or a boat, they really got you covered. We'll talk about them maybe a little bit later in the show, just like we'll talk about hoops a little bit later in the show and baseball later in the show. Football on deck. But first off, we check in with Corey Clark. How are you, Corey?
I'm great, buddy. Thanks for asking. How are you doing? How was your trip back to Tallahassee?
Man, what a blur. It was a blur. It was there Friday.
You're living that Corey Clark life is what you're living.
It's like week one, not great.
Yeah.
No, I'm fine. But yeah, Abby had her bridal shower on Sunday. My mom came to town for that as well, so I'd like run back to Jacksonville, entertain my mom, help out on Sunday. It was awesome though. We got a bunch of presents, so that was cool.
Yeah, what's the coolest thing you got?
Her aunt gave us her recipe for chicken parm, which she made for us like the day after Christmas. That was phenomenal, and gave us a bunch of pasta making tools.
Present. Oh, okay. So she actually gave you stuff too. All right, well that's good. Yeah, all right.
And she also funded like the whole thing. Like she paid for
there you go. It's a big part of it. Yeah.
Shout out Aunt
Well
Shelley.
done, Aunt.
Yeah, Aunt Shelley. She's the best. We love her. Just like we love Florida State football. That's what brings us all together here. Warchant.com's got it covered like no one else. Subscribe, rate, review, thumbs up. $1 for a week. Year subscription to The Athletic as well. Spring has started, everybody. It's time to lock back in. Lock back in with your Noles. All right, Corey, so we're going to get practice this morning. We're not going to be able to watch it, but we're going to get Mike Norvell and I think players afterwards. But on Friday, we got to speak to Norvell, or rather, Mike spoke to us from the podium. We asked him some questions. And then we got to speak to a lot of the coaches off the record. And then we were able to speak to coaches on the record. I think we got pretty much every single coach. So there's a lot to cover. I know you and Ira talked about it on the wrap. No, but it seems like the biggest thing for you, because you asked the question, because it's what you were most interested in, was talking about the quarterback. And I think there was a sense from a lot of people, even like on the YouTube comments, Corey, that they were on the same page with you when it came to kind of hearing about the way Mike spoke about Ashton Daniels, or the way he fielded that question seemed to tip his hand one way, and that didn't seem to bring a lot of good vibes to a lot of people.
Yeah, well, look, man, we'll see. Ashton could be really good, and we don't know anything on March 9th. We don't know what this season is going to be or how good Ashton Daniels is, and he's more experienced and has accomplished more than Kevin Sperry at this level. And again, he just played an Iron Bowl and had over 400 yards, or what do you have, 350 yards of offense? Had 450 yards of offense against Vanderbilt, like running and passing, like averaging 400 yards against two top 15 teams his last two games. I get it. Maybe I didn't phrase the question right, or I didn't phrase it succinctly enough. But unlike Tommy and unlike DJ, it doesn't seem like this is a slam dunk. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem like Ashton Daniels is a slam dunk. That's been my theory for 3 months now.
You asked it that way, Corey.
Yeah.
You asked it that way.
And he kind of nipped that in the bud real quick, didn't he? And he's like, I can't remember how he said, I have high expectations for Ashton Daniels.
He said when you've played as much football as him, there is a high expectations for how it needs to look. And he's like, we have high expectations for him.
But I don't even feel like I asked about Ashton. Like I did, but I asked about the quarterback battle, kind of on the guise of Kevin Sperry.
Yes,
like Kevin could,
agreed.
and he's the one that brought up Ashton Daniels, unsolicited. I mean, it wasn't unsolicited because we were talking about the quarterback position. But he made it a point to sing Ashton Daniels' praises, which all this means, honestly, is, we can go into March. We can say March 9th. Ashton Daniels is the presumed starting quarterback at Florida State. He didn't come here not to start. They didn't bring him in not to start. That's fine. I don't think it's a guarantee he's the starter. He will have to win the job. I don't think Tommy and DJ had to win it. I think they could have just played sorry to mediocre in spring and in summer. They were going to be the starting quarterback because of the alternatives. Kevin Sperry at least has a chance to give them a real alternative if Ashton Daniels doesn't play well. That's my theory that I'm sticking to now. Okay. But yes, it would appear that Ashton Daniels is the guy they want to be the starter. I'm sure he'll get first team reps, but I also don't think it's over. I think it's a real competition. Let's just say that if it was a 100-yard dash, well, they don't do those anymore, do they? A 100-meter sprint. Ashton Daniels is well ahead out of the blocks, but he hasn't crossed the finish line yet, and maybe Kevin Sperry tracks him down.
Oh, okay. I like it, Corey.
That's not a bad analogy. I was going to go with Formula One again, but I can't do it. I don't know anything about that sport, clearly.
Okay, let me see. From there, let's talk about, I guess, just Duce Robinson still the man? Player-led team. He is your best player, I think, safe to say.
Yeah.
And he sounds to be your most reliable, headstrong, clear-eyed leader, which, listen, there's, we're going to find probably things that need to talk about between now and kickoff against New Mexico State. I think one of them will be comparing what they were last year to what they are this year in terms of who is the leader, not like an alpha or anything, but who is the guy that really is the face of your program, the sound, the heartbeat of your locker room. I really think they all wanted to be Tommy. I think Tommy wanted to be Tommy. I think Mike wanted to be Tommy. I think Gus wanted to be Tommy. I think Duce was cool kind of conceding that to Tommy. I don't think Tommy was the right kind of guy for what this team, where they were at and where they were trying to go. I think a lot of the things that probably made him fall flat with Bill O'Brien kind of came to the surface when the losses started kind of piling up at Florida State. I just don't know if he was the right kind of guy that's going to always, because there needs to be we give Mike Norvell too much grief maybe about he's always positive, he's always optimistic. But when you're in a leadership role, man, you really can't ever have your head down. Not that we didn't see Tommy go out there and try to compete really hard, man. But I think there was a level of just belief or his ability to be a positive, uplifting force. It just wasn't there enough. Duce won't have that problem.
No, and also Duce is better at his job than Tommy was at his. Duce is one of the best receivers in the country. Tommy clearly wasn't one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But, yeah, I still think, yes, Duce will be a nice leader for this team. And I don't know how rah he is. Norvell did tell the story where they heard some answer from some player. It was vague. It was a vague Mike Norvell story. But he and Duce were in the football facility. There was an answer to a question that was not as emphatic as maybe Duce wanted to hear. And he looked at Norvell and was like, that doesn't get it done, coach. And then Norvell essentially looked at him and was like, well, what are you going to do about it? So Duce went and told whoever the person was, that's not how we do things around here. But that's fine. That's good. That's all needed, and it's wanted, and it's what good. It's part of what makes good teams good is that kind of player accountability and player leadership. I just still think, man, your quarterback has to be a leader, whoever it is. If Sperry ends up winning the job, and Sperry believes in himself, and if he wins the job, will he be a guy that can be a leader? I think Ashton Daniels certainly has the personality, but he hasn't won the job yet. Yeah. So unlike Tommy, again, Tommy knew he was the starting quarterback as soon as he enrolled in classes. Ashton Daniels probably thinks he's the starting quarterback, probably will be the starting quarterback, but it is not official. It is not an absolute. So how much of a leader can he be when he's competing for a job? So I think Duce is a guy. I think obviously. According to Terrance Knighton, Darryl Desir is the alpha of that room, which is good because he can play, and we know he can play, and that's a guy that you can build around because he's a homegrown dude. He didn't transfer, and he cares, and he and his brother play really hard. And if he's also one of the bigger voices in the room, I think that matters. And then I would think Chris Jones would be one at linebacker. And then we'll see about the secondary. But, yeah, I still think the quarterback has to be a big part of it. I mean, I just don't know how much a receiver can be that kind of guy. It could be. I'm just trying to think of all the teams I've covered when a receiver was the alpha, big-voiced leader of a football team or even the offense. I just think it's got to be the quarterback. could be both. It could be a tandem. But, I think all the good teams that Florida State's had over the years, obviously they've had a good quarterback. That's part of it. But the quarterback has been a leader. Jordan, Jameis, on and on.
What about Charlie?
Casey, Charlie, yeah, you got to be a leader. Now, Charlie wasn't outspoken, obviously, but those players believed in him 1,000,000%. And wouldn't it be nice if maybe these players believe in Ashton Daniels that way? Or Kevin Sperry. Maybe Kevin Sperry's the next Charlie Ward. We'll all see.
I just think it's good to know that they're like looking at Duce. Like Duce is going to be he's the actual evidence. Like of this is what you need to look like. This is what you need to perform. This is the attitude you need to have. Like
right. Same thing with Duce, right?
Yeah,
like
I'm not saying they need to have
awesome teaching tool.
Yeah, they don't need awesome speeches, but just like go out there and perform and carry yourself in a way that everybody else around you knows. Like okay, like that's what it's supposed to quote unquote look like. So
Yep, 100% with the young guys. Tim Harris talked about that when we talked to him afterwards. He talked about how Duce leads by doing that. Like just doing that is what makes Duce a leader. Now he's a leader too. He's vocal, but him being a guy they know is good and he works that hard. What that means for young receivers to see that on a daily basis. They're about to see it for 15 practices over the next month, and then they're going to see it every day in the fall. That's a really big deal. And so that's cool that they have somebody like that at a bunch of different positions. I think, like I think Wisner.
Yes.
Is it Wisner or Wisner?
Wise.
Or Wise. Yeah, he's a wise man. Wisner, Duce, Chris Jones, the Desirs. Again, don't know about secondary. Don't know about tight end. But they it's good that they have at least a few at each different position that can be that guy, perhaps. Because I don't know. Even though Earl Little played well, at times really well, I don't know that he was like a vociferous leader. I don't know that he was a guy that talked a lot and led by words too and accountability. I think Desirs have that in them. We know Duce has it in him. We'll see if maybe one of the running backs has it in him.
We had the opportunity to interview whatever assistant coach we wanted to. I was tasked with talking to Herb Hand. Who'd you get, Corey?
I got Terrance Knighton and Tim Harris.
All right, empty out the notebook.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you. Yeah. Well, that's right. I didn't write anything for the site because I'm an idiot, so I might as well do it for here. We got time. We got a lot of spring.
We have a lot of
and
spring,
I don't know when we're going to talk to these assistants again, so don't want to empty it out too much on the online on the site. But with Tim Harris, it was funny. It's not really off the record. It doesn't matter. This wasn't for the video that I did, but I was just talking to him about Danzy, and Danzy at the ACC championships ran a 45.70 or something, and I think last year he broke 45 seconds. So he's not running as fast as he did, and he was a little bummed about it. And Tim Harris, who was also a receiver and a track guy in college and in high school, it's a pretty big track family he came from. Actually, I asked him, I was like, "Is Danzy okay?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, he just went through a whole college football season. So, and he hasn't been at track full time, so of course he's not running as fast. He goes, the year before when he redshirted, he didn't get tackled. His body was fine. But, he ran he had a long, arduous football season. And so his body still isn't in track shape, but he said he'll be just fine for outdoor track season. Because, Danzy's not used to finishing 5th or 6th in anything he ever competes in. So, but it's not like all of a sudden he's gotten slow. It's just his body working itself back in track shape. And he did say that he's coming over. And part of what Danzy does, because he obviously can't compete in the spring. Jason Lopez will compete in some of the spring, but he'll be with the basketball team as long as they're around. But he said Danzy comes over every day, and part of his routine is he has to catch 150 balls off the jugs gun. So that's cool. Yeah, well, I think he realized that after his redshirt freshman season, after Gus Malzahn deemed him worthy to give him the ball, that maybe my future might be in this sport. And there's a lot more money, there's a lot more money in football than in track, especially if you're like an elite football talent. So, yeah, because I think Danzy's a big part of this team, a really big part. We won't get to see him or talk to him much during the spring because he's in another sport. But he is he is a guy that with Duce could make this offense go. Should make it go. If it goes anywhere at all, it will probably be in large part, I think, because of those two guys. And then we'll see about Boggs and whoever else fills in.
You cool with him double dipping, moonlighting as a track guy?
Yeah, because he's so good at it. This is not – look, I don't consider Jason Lopez like double dipping, like avoiding football, but he's not a part of that team. I mean, he's a part of the team in that he practices, but he's not playing. Mekhi Dansey scored points for an ACC championship track and field team. They finished third in the 4x4. That's, I don't know what that is, 8 points, 7 points. He finished fifth or sixth in the individual, so that's enough. So he scored like 10 points at the ACC indoor track and field championships and helped them win a title. And that's always fun when you're helping your school win titles. And I also think in the outdoor he'll produce even more. And I don't know, man, like he might be Olympian. He might be an Olympian. So this isn't like moonlighting. This is something he's awesome at. It kind of reminds me of no, but not to the extent. But Jalen Ramsey, people forget, was an incredible long jumper.
Yeah.
Like national, like could have won a national championship in the long jump, probably. And this isn't hyperbole, because when I was watching the ACC long jump championships last week, because I'm a cool guy, and what else am I gonna do on a Thursday afternoon but watch the ACC long jump championships? I think the guy that won jumped like 25.3 or 25 and a quarter feet, and Ramsey's top jump was like 26 and a half.
Dang.
So he would have won this year's, and he competed 10 years ago. He would have won this year's ACC long jump championship by a foot. And these are really good guys. So that tells you the kind of just ridiculous athlete and talent he was. But he's also a top 10 pick in the NFL, top 5 pick in the NFL draft. I don't know that Dansey's that, but similar guys. Like I think whatever he dedicates himself to, he can be a pro in, and maybe one of the best in the country in. So or world, I guess. So yeah, I don't mind Dansey doing that.
One of the best places in the world I like to think of is the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Guess who was there on Friday night, Corey Clark?
I was there. I don't have to guess. I know. What a welcome. What a wonderful surprise that was, Aslan.
I was leaving baseball and I was hungry. I got to baseball a little bit. Well, I had the dinner they served at baseball. Shout out to them. I think Kava was maybe. I shouldn't say that. They're not a sponsor. But anyways, the food was good. Had that, but I was still hungry after the game. Even though the game, I think, got done in about 3 hours, like less than 3 hours. Shout out to the team. I was hungry and I was driving home. Like, you know what? A sandwich sounds really good right about now. But I'm like, maybe Matt Lacer's out on the town.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, let me see what Matt Lacer's up to. Let me throw the bat signal up. He's like, I'm at CP with Corey. I'm like, say less.
Yeah.
Head up there, have a burger, have a Surfside. Those are my drink of choice right now. We've given up on the Claws. We've moved off from the High Noons. Now we're on the Surfsides.
I think are they the sponsor at Hauser?
Yes. Yeah,
like when you get a double.
Oh, maybe.
It's like not a single, no trouble, just a double or something like that. They say it every time because Cal Fisher had 2 doubles, and as he's pulling into second, they're reading off the ad read for whatever. What'd you say it was?
Surfside? Yeah. So it was awesome. What a way to cap off a Friday night, talking to all the folks in the football program, going and covering the baseball team, seeing them win, and then hanging out with Corey Clark and Matt Lacer.
Got to see some fans.
Yeah. Oh, Kenny Fouché, was that a guy? Celtics jersey.
Kenny was wearing his Tatum jersey, but he was honoring that Tatum came back. I could understand that, and he was very nice. Then I think it was Rob and Rhonda.
It was definitely Rhonda. Sorry, I didn't remember the husband's name.
Yeah, Rhonda's
just
an easier name to remember.
You don't see a lot of you don't run into a lot of Rhondas these days.
Yeah,
so that's
very easy to remember. Their daughter goes to Florida State. I feel like they said they were from North Carolina, right on the sort of North Carolina, South Carolina border. And it's always wonderful because they came in, they asked the bartender, they told the bartender, yeah, we're here because we hear Corey Clark talk about it all the time.
Nice.
And then Lisa was like, he's right over there. And then she shouted at me, Corey, and pointed, and I went out and talked to him and had a good time with him. So it's always fun to meet the fans at Corner Pocket because I'm there a lot, Aslan less. But, hey, if you're there Friday night, you got both of us.
That's right. The burger was fantastic. The drink was ice cold, reasonably priced. My tab, very reasonable. Loved it. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, cptallybar.com, the website, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Time for a one-year check-in with life as a Ridge Wallet owner. So it's been strong to quite strong. I made it through a swampy summer. Didn't matter. Front pocket, not a problem. Blizzard winter. Thing was still mint condition. Got the Monaco white aluminum with the cash strap, metal body rock solid. The elastic cash strap has retained its shape and the spring it's got to it. And somehow Ridge is upgraded with a catalog featuring over 50 colors and designs, plus a 10% lighter wallet that maintains its RFID blocking technology that keeps your credit card secure from what we call unscrupulous actors. Try it and save $10 when you use promo code WAKEUP. No matter what you pick, Ridge has got free shipping, 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty on all their products. Go to ridge.com/wakeup or use WakeUp at checkout at ridge.com to save $10 off your order. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Cummins Lifestyle. We'll do the mailbag show later this week. So we got, I think, practice of what we got Monday, Tuesday, Friday. I know I'm going to be in town on Friday. I know that, but we'll figure out a way to shoehorn it in with all the football that we're going to be talking about. We're not done talking about football, though. Corey Clark, thoughts? Oh, you spoke a little bit about the Duceers, obviously, but anything else from Terrance Knighton? I should add in there, I think, to steal from Ira on the wrap, they were talking, I think Tony White was talking about Daniel Lyons' play last season towards the end of it and said that he might have been playing the best of anybody on the defensive line, which just seems kind of crazy because Darryl was doing his thing all year long, it seemed like, and the Duceers were coming on really well at the end of the year. But sounds like Lyons is a guy that did enough good last year, I guess, for them to maybe stand pat a little bit on defensive line. Otherwise, anything else from Terrance Knighton that wasn't necessarily Duceer related?
Not really. He did talk about, Kevin Wynn, and that, Kevin Wynn is in the best shape. I think he said Kevin Wynn's dropped like 25 pounds. He's down to 320, but is stronger than he's ever been. And it seems like he foresees him being the guy, the Darryl Jackson of this year. Not as good as Darryl Jackson, but being that guy that kind of honestly in a 3-3-5 is kind of eating blocks, but is big enough to swallow up two guys and then free up your other defensive linemen and your linebackers to go make plays and also make plays yourself. You don't just have to sit there and do nothing or just get stood up. You can go make plays too, and they do like Kevin Wynn. And he was a big deal when he signed with Florida State, and he was going to play a lot. And what gives me hope about that kid is he's in better shape than he was. He was not in great shape last year, but the way they talked about him was the same way they talked about the Duceers. And the Duceers ended up being what they said they were. We might as well assume that Kevin Wynn, if he's healthy, is going to be what they say he is too. And now you're talking about three upper tier type. I mean, maybe not now as true sophomores, especially with Kevin Wynn, who hasn't played much. But by the end of the season, by the middle of the season, will be three of the better, hopefully, defensive linemen in the conference. Maybe. I mean, I don't know what their potential is. Literally, I have no idea. The way the Duceers played as true freshmen, you can't put a ceiling on what that can be. And Kevin Wynn, we have no ammo or examples either way to know what he can be. But let's hope they're all good. And that would be nice. And it would be nice to have him for 2 more years. You know what I mean? Like something to really build on the defensive line, because the way they talk about Kevin Wynn, I'm telling you, they talked about him the same way they talked about those other two. And those other two ended up being pretty doggone good true freshmen. And they all need to get better. All of them. Daniel Lyons, I don't care. They all need to get better. Whether you've been here 4 years or 1, you need to get better. But they do think that – he did say that Darryl and Mandrell and Tim Harris said this too. Like what they did last year with the true freshmen and how much they played on offense and defense is such a wonderful recruiting tool, and it's also a really good coaching tool and motivator for what do they have 25 guys here that are early enrollees that should still be seniors in high school, to tell them, look, man, you can get on the field this year. You don't come in here and coast and think I got a year or 2 or 3 until I'm ready. I can go play this year if I'm good enough, because this coaching staff has proven that they'll play those guys if they're good enough. Doesn't matter what their class is. If they're good enough, they'll put them on the field. That's such a great motivator, not just for the older guys, like, oh, we got these guys nipping at our heels, and if I don't play well, they're gonna get on the field instead of me. But like it's a great way. It's a great motivator for those guys to bust their rumps and to treat this spring practice really seriously so they can get in position to play. And the competition that I've talked about since we started doing this show, competition at practice is vital. It's vital. That's why I'm excited about this. Well, if it is a QB competition or if it's just a parade to New Mexico State for Ashton Daniels, I don't know, it's a coronation, whatever we're calling it. I think it's a competition and not a coronation, but we'll see. I just think that's so much better for the football team when you have – I don't know. You probably have 7 to 9 guys that absolutely know they're going to start. Everybody else is in a competition, which should make them all better. Or if they succumb to the pressures of the competition, you didn't want them on the field anyway. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you're going to get to find some guys that are real over the next month, and then certainly August to September, guys that can handle the pressure that comes with competition, because there's a lot more pressure on Saturdays and Fridays, which is they play half their season on Friday this year.
So I spoke to Herb Hand. That was the only coach that I spoke to. I should have gone back and listened to the John Garrett interview on the way back to Jacksonville, but I did not. Maybe I'll listen to it today, and then I'll have something to talk about on the show that we'll do probably tomorrow. We're probably going to do 5 a week, I would think, for at least like the next 2 weeks. Then they're taking off spring break, which why do they do that? I don't know. I'm not a fan of it, but whatever. So Herb Hand, I don't know, there was a lot of meat on the bone there. I mean, I asked him just kind of jokingly about whether or not, Chaplin's listed at 6'8", Paps is listed at 6'7". I know Pettis was 6'7". I'm like, oh, is the tallest tackles you've ever had in your career? And he's like, no. He said that he had a 6'10" guy at UCF and a 6'9" guy at UCF.
That seems crazy.
That is. I looked it up, though. It's true. Ryan Swoboda, he was 6'10". But he was just talking about not having a depth chart. They have a rep chart. I'm like, yeah, but don't you have somewhat of an understanding of who's going to be where? He's like, no. He's like, they have positions, if you will, but he's like, we're going to put them everywhere and see how they fit into things. So I thought that was a little bit interesting. I thought maybe he would kind of tip his hand and talk a little bit more about, like, all right, we have obviously defined roles that we need on offensive line, but these guys seem to fit it better than the other player, if you will. Otto, he talked about him earning the opportunity, like earning the role of the leader. And he was saying that, like, everybody's really following him. He obviously earned it, as he said to me. It's good to know that, like, a coach is also co-signing on that, because we're seeing him on social media be a little bit more active. And, some of the players might have said a couple things about Otto being a helpful hand. But when the coach is pointing you out and singling you out, that's obviously a good thing. He spoke about Jaden Todd and Jonathan Daniels, especially Todd. He said that, Jaden Todd now has transformed his body to where you look at him now and you're like, okay, that is an offensive lineman at a major Division I program. So he did not come ready-made to Tallahassee. So credit to Herb Hand, Josh Storms, and them for getting him into shape. Said Jonathan Daniels looked really well, was moving around really good, but mainly, the focus on the transfers. He hasn't seen them play, but he has watched them on film. He says that part of his evaluation process, Corey, is watching them on film. You have a good idea watching them on film whether or not they can level up. And then he says he reaches out to every single offensive line coach they've pretty much ever had in college. And I think he was talking about Weewu, who was the young man from Stephen F. Austin. His offensive line coach was a GA for Herb Hand, I think, at Auburn back in the day. So this goes just to show, like, the networking capability a guy like Herb Hand has, which is kind of a given, but we don't talk about it maybe enough. But when you have a guy like that's been around for so long, he can do a good job of going through and figuring out who's going to fit where and what player can play for him. So, but yeah, he didn't say anything particular about Joyner or Bowling, Paul Bowling from Troy, and then Braden Joyner, who came in from Purdue, did talk about how good he played as a freshman at Auburn, but just he likes the fact they've got so much playing experience, especially guys like Paps. But it does sound like there will be an open competition, if you will, for all those spots on the line. So I thought that was interesting. And because I thought maybe tip his hand, Corey. And then I asked him about Gus. I'm like, did you find out about Gus like the rest of us? And he was like, he's like, him and his wife came over because his wife's friends with my wife, and we had dinner and we talked about it. He's like, we've had these conversations before in the past. And he's like, we talked about it at the end of last year. And he's like, when he came over, I could kind of sense. He's like, I wish him the best. And then I asked him, like, but wouldn't you? I'm like, but you, though. I'm like, if you would have left, you would have been a free agent. You would have had a lot of options. He's like, whoa. No, he's like, no. He's like, listen, he's like, I love it here. He's like, I want to say as long as they'll keep me around. He said that this was one of the greatest programs in college football history.
There you go.
Why would I want to leave?
He's not wrong about that.
Yeah. He's like, I've got one of the best offensive line coaching jobs in the country. I'm just blessed to be here. So
there you go, Herb Hand. There you go, Herb Hand. Well said, buddy. Sing it from the mountaintops. Yeah, I like he's a net positive for this program for sure, because you just know he is not going to have an embarrassing offensive line, right?
No, I should have pushed back on this, because he did say that this is the microwave culture, a microwave society. But he said offensive line is a slow cooker. It's a smoker. He's like, you need to put a rub on it. You need to let it sit for a while. And I really should have been like, well, what about last year, though? Because that was a microwave offensive line, and they played really well. So, like, don't.
I wonder if he's talking about the players, the personnel, and not necessarily the unit as one. because there's not a lot of offensive linemen that play early and are good early. Like maybe that's what he meant. Like not, a lot of these guys haven't maybe accomplished a lot, but that doesn't mean they're not going to accomplish something. Maybe, I don't know. But, yeah, either way, he's not going to have, at least I'm 100% convinced he's not going. And I could be wrong. I've been wrong a couple times in my life. He's not going to have an embarrassment of an offensive line. Now, that's not a high bar to clear, but at Florida State over the last decade or so, there's been multiple years where they've had an embarrassing offensive line. And when you lose essentially the whole starting offensive line from the year ago, that can be a worry. This guy will put together a group that, while not spectacular and maybe not even good, will not be an embarrassment and will be good enough to accomplish what they need to accomplish for everybody to keep their jobs for another year. We'll see if it happens. But I do not worry about his unit unless they just get crushed by injuries.
Right.
He will find 5 guys out of that group that can play at a level, good enough for this team to compete for 8 or 9 wins, or maybe somehow compete for Charlotte. I did want to say, though, the one thing that I wanted to talk about with Norvell, because we haven't really talked about him much other than what he said with the quarterback situation.
All right. Well, I'm glad we got you, because I can't do.
It's my question again, though. So it's not even fair. Like, I'm taking my question as if I'm the only one that asks good questions. And I don't even know if this was a a question. I know I didn't word it like I wanted to.
Were there
so
any
it
good
probably
answers?
wasn't.
I'm not to be rude
they're not.
and be a
I
jerk,
thought
but just it's so tough to.
Yeah.
People I'm like, listen, I was here for 30 minutes. I'm like, I don't know what he said. I
thought the quarterback answer was a real answer, not the one that maybe people wanted to hear, but I thought he, like you said, tipped his hand. He certainly tipped his hand as who they think will be the starter. But also when I asked him if Malzahn would have retired after the Florida game, what would he have done?
What was that? Where were you trying to take us
Basically,
on that one?
was the reason he made himself the play caller was because it was so late in the cycle and there was nobody to go get.
Right.
Like the timing of it made it where it's like he didn't even have a choice. But if Malzahn had retired by Thanksgiving, he could have gone and gotten someone.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it seemed like his answer was it would have been Tim Harris either way. Like he would have promoted Tim Harris from within, and then he would have taken over play calling duties. I did not ask it very well, but that's the answer that I'm sticking with, that I think I got from him. And I thought that was interesting. I don't know if it's true, but because he didn't actually answer it affirmatively, like 100% absolute, but I think that's what he was trying to say. But again, I can't blame him because my question wasn't very good. But that's what I do think that he would have, if this would have happened because people, when Malzahn retires in February, was it February, late January, whenever it was?
I think it was last month.
People were like, "Oh, what do we got? Oh, we got to scramble. We got to scramble." Now we're stuck with Tim Harris as the OC and Norvell's back to being the play caller. Thanks a lot, Gus. And I think there's a chance, a pretty good one apparently, that this is how it would have happened even if Malzahn had told them 2 months earlier that he was retiring. This is what Norvell would want to do. That there's still a lot of the foundational aspects with the running game, wanting to run, and they, Herb Hand and Tim Harris have worked with each other. Tim Harris has also been an offensive coordinator twice, so this is not new for him. He's not calling plays, but he will be a part of obviously coordinating the offense and running practices and all that stuff from week to week. So yeah, and the fact that Norvell said, "I'm back doing what I love to do. I'm back doing something I love to do, which is call plays and be a part of the offense." I thought that was telling, so much so that he trailed off as he was saying it. Like, I don't know if I want to. But he said it. He finished the sentence. Yeah. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was something I love to do, something I've always loved to do.
Yeah, it's like something I've had success doing in the past, even here. Yeah. And I was like, I got you.
It's not wrong. He has. He had a horrible last year doing it. But other than that, he's been,
as long as Jordan Travis has been around, I've been
decent to good. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Otherwise, who knows?
But then it's also like when you think about that, like that's true, and that's a fair criticism, and I've made it probably more than anyone.
You've authored it, buddy. Come on.
But yeah, and I've done the records, like what his record is with Jordan Travis, what his record is without. It's alarming to say the least. But it's not just that it's not Jordan Travis. The disparity between Jordan Travis and the guys that have played at quarterback for Florida State has been so wide.
Intentional decisions of going after Tommy, going after Ashton.
No, and Tommy's not even the guy I'm thinking about. It's like DJ, going from Jordan Travis to Brock Glenn, or Tate Rodemaker, or Luke Kromenhawk, or an injured DJ, or an injured Mackenzie Milton. Like, it's not like he even had capable college quarterbacks. He went from an all-American-ish type quarterback to guys that were questionable whether they belonged at this level.
I mean, I think one of them's not even playing college football anymore, and the other one's at like Western Kentucky.
And that's all his fault. But it's his fault that those guys were on the team and those were his decisions. But I'm saying, like, I don't know who would have won with that group of quarterbacks. Who would have had a great record? So hopefully this crew he's got this year with Sperry and our man Daniels, and then maybe the kid that comes in and the JUCO kid that comes in August, they'll be better than what he's had other than Jordan Travis.
No spring game again. I wasn't really bothered by it, but a lot of people were bothered. I shouldn't say that, Corey, but had opinions on it. Now Lawrence Stample, former defensive lineman.
Oh, yeah.
Once an old, always an old. No,
national champion defensive lineman, I believe.
No spring game this offseason is disappointing. I understand maximizing practice value, but the value I got from spring games was next level. It just feels like a missed opportunity.
Okay, Niall.
Brian Stork,
That's
Super
a
Bowl.
well-thought-out opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, articulated well. Go ahead. Sorry.
Brian Stork, Super Bowl winning, Remington Trophy award winning, national champion winning. I understand wanting to protect assets, but don't BS me about spring games take away from development. It gets everyone a chance to compete in live action with a crowd while having the 1s, 2s, and 3s mixed up playing next to each other, which could happen in the fall because injuries happen. Spring in Tallahassee is a wonderful time of year and helps the surrounding businesses. Highly disappointed there isn't going to be a spring game. In my opinion, I think it's soft as to not put one on for the program and the fans. Spring 2013 practice number, who gives a end of practice after long work day, went 1s versus 1, 20-plus plays in a row to the point of exhaustion on the goal line. Guess what? We had a spring game 2. Then we went on to have an amazing fall. It's called not shying away from competition and sharpening your sword, which makes everyone better, coaches included.
Are you going to have to bleep those?
Yeah.
Brian Stork getting bleeped.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just want to say,
I didn't know he was that emphatic about it.
I've got a bleep button. I could have just done it in live time and been like,
oh, there you go. I didn't know you had that.
I
awesome.
do. I got it now. Yeah, I should have just done that, but I didn't help myself out. I'll have to go do it in post-production. But, yeah, I mean, no one's doing them. I don't know who's doing them. Like Sankey, Jim Phillips needs to probably beg some of these teams to do it so they have inventory for the SEC network and ACC network. Otherwise, just don't give me we need every practice. We need to make it as valuable as we can, and we just want to do a practice, which might be the right answer, Corey. But what do you think is the right answer? Is there a right answer?
I mean, I don't know. Just so much of this stuff, including what happened on Friday in Washington, D.C., just makes me long for my childhood in the sport that I grew to love, and then what this is. Like, people scared of spring games. And that's not a shot at Norvell. No, he's right. And he mentioned it. He's like, if you look around the country, there's not many schools doing it anymore. Awesome. Way to think about your fans. Way to think about your community. Stork is right. It does give it does make for a special weekend in the midst of non-football, and it gives your team a chance to perform in front of its fans. It gives your fans a chance to gather and cheer on their program where they can't lose. They get to walk out of Doak without a loss. That's needed this time these days with this era. But it's not just a Norvell problem. It's a college football problem. I don't understand why they go away from these things. There's not been one thing they've done, one modification to this sport that they've made over the last 15 or 20 years, in my opinion. Maybe the playoffs. The playoffs probably. But other than that, that has been good for the fans and good for the sport. Not one. And this is another one. We don't do spring games anymore. Cool. Who decided that? When did this become a thing? And why? Yeah. So you can get an extra practice? But it's fine, man. It's fine. It's just that we had them. We used to have them, and now we don't. And the reasoning we don't is dumb. Because it gives you want to maximize your 15 days. You haven't maximized your practices in 2 years. So one extra practice in the spring, ripping that away from the fans so they don't get to see any of these guys. The first time they get to see any of them is New Mexico State. All right, man, do what you want to do. But I think it's short-sighted. But I think these decisions are made by people that, they don't have the skin in the game that even we do, that even you and I do. And I mean skin in the game like growing, and I'm talking about the people listening to this show. If you're listening to this show, especially 40 minutes in, about a spring football practice in 2026, you are a hardcore Florida State fan. Your skin is in the game.
You have qualified, yes. You
Mike
meet the
Norvell
threshold.
will probably not be in Tallahassee in the next few years. He'll be gone, on with his other life, doing something else. Meanwhile, the Florida State fans suffer from decisions he and the administration make, and I don't mean suffer as in like, oh my God, we don't have a spring game. What am I going to do in my life? But man, by God, it's something that people enjoyed for the most part. They would come to town for it. They enjoyed it. Why are you guys taking it away from them? And again, I'm talking to every AD and coach in the country that's taken these things away. It's just short-sighted, and again, it's not for the fans. That's fine. But, hey, give us that money so we can either pay off our coach who can't win football games, or we can go overpay for SEC guards and tackles. But we still need all your money, but we're not going to let you get to see anything. Now, that's the people that actually pay for the guards and tackles. If they want to come watch a practice, they'll be able to watch a practice. But you guys understand the point. It would be nice if they thought about the fans, not just Florida State, but every school. I don't know if Florida's going to have one. I don't know if Miami's going to have one. Georgia. This is not a Florida State attack. This is an attack on college football and the people that make these decisions and start these trends with no thinking about any repercussions or some unforeseen consequences, unintended consequences. They just don't think about them. And one of that is like, man, yeah. It's nice to drum up some interest for your team and have your fans gather and get to tailgate and get to go into Doak. But nope, can't do it. And they're not going to even have any concerts. I thought, okay, well, if they're not going to have a spring game, at least, I don't know, Shakira's coming. But no, they got the rodeo, not the rodeo, PBR, sorry.
Right, sorry.
Not a rodeo. Yeah. It's not a rodeo.
Correct,
and no clowns there. But and then
there is
nothing. I don't think they're clowns. They're dressed as something else. I don't think they're dressed as clowns.
There's no steer wrestling. There's no roping. There's no barrel racing. That's the hallmarks of a rodeo.
Right, goat rodeos.
Are there?
We've seen a lot of goat rodeos in Doak the last couple of years. I can tell you that much.
Are there clowns at PBR? Yes, there are entertainers often referred to as clowns or barrelmen at professional bull rider events, such as the famous.
But they're not dressed up as clowns, are they? Unless Spencer was lying to me. Our friend Spencer, friend of the show, went to one down in Tampa, said it was awesome, and said they didn't have clowns.
All right, I'll believe Spence. I'm not gonna. I'll take him over the word of the internet.
Okay. Right.
I like Spence. And then last thing on Mike Norvell, I guess, and what we heard is that practice is going to be in the morning now, and we mentioned that because we saw the schedule at the end of last week before we did our last show. So they typically would do afternoon practices in spring to allow student athletes in the area, Georgia, to come down and watch them practice. And it was a good way to kind of network. He did say something about they went back and looked historically at who was able to come on campus. So they would be for like midweek visits because they would come watch practice on a Tuesday or Wednesday. Right. This didn't affect their weekend visitor schedule. And I think he said pretty much something like there wasn't a lot of correlation between guys who were able to come and watch a practice on a Wednesday and would end up committing. And he's like, there's still spring break. That gives them an opportunity to come watch us play. I just think it's a better, our players are able to maximize their day, I think he said, by doing the practices in the morning in the spring. So they'll be doing practices in the spring. And then also, I guess, the facility.
A lot of maximization going on over there.
Right,
everyone this year. A lot of maximization.
And efficiency going through the roof, too, right? The football-only facility is really being used.
Yes,
sounds like.
Correct. It really is. That wasn't sarcasm. It might have sounded like it coming from Aslan. But, yeah, Norvell said they're in the facility 30 to 50% more. I mean, he's not charting it. He doesn't have the numbers. He's guesstimating that the players are in there 30 to 50% more because it's such a beautiful building and the tools and resources they have in there to help them with the VR stuff and the walkthrough room where you can put like the whole wall can be fit like a film projector where you can like almost be on the field looking at it. All those kind of cool tools and stuff. They're using it a lot, and they're all in a race to apparently try to get to the building as early as possible.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Why would you wander around a warehouse store looking for paint when you could just swing by your neighborhood Ace? In addition to Ace's award-winning service, we have top-rated paint brands. Plus, our color matching technology allows us to match any color. So stop wandering and start painting. Head to your neighborhood Ace today.
In Crawfordville, your home convenience store is Ace Home Center and Napa Auto Parts, located at 2709 Crawfordville Highway. Instant gratification society these days, right? But not necessarily a bad thing. We want results. We want good results. We want those good results fast. Brunt Workwear has been committed to crafting quality workwear that looks great, is tailored for life on the job site, and it's ready to go out the box with unmatched comfort. No break-in period needed. Brunt offers a full range of high-performance gear built for the tough jobs. From heavy-duty work pants to weather-resistant jackets, Brunt designs durable, reliable workwear that keeps you protected and productive in any condition. Brunt was tired of the workwear brands out there cutting corners, so they built something better. Boots that are insanely comfortable and built for any job site. For a limited time, our listeners get $10 off at bruntworkwear.com when you use the promo code WAKEUP at checkout. $10 off with promo code WAKEUP at bruntworkwear.com. We are back. It's Wake Up Warchant. It is presented by Cummins Lifestyle. Give it a follow. Look out for the Renegade Express thread pinned to the top of the Tribal Council. Post a question, get an opportunity to win a swag bag, and then obviously an entry into the end of off-season drawing for the ultimate tailgate giveaway. 20 people at a tailgate. You got your own bartender. You got your own spot, chairs, tables, television sets, because obviously there's portable power there. Hotel room for the weekend, all courtesy of Cummins. Follow them, Cummins Lifestyle, over on Instagram. We get practice this morning, so we get 11:15, Wednesday 11:15. Friday, we actually get to watch a little bit. There'll be a photo video window at 9:30, probably for like 15 minutes. So that's our week of football. But again, we'll be talking about football all week long here, as well as the Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 4 o'clock. Seminole headlines, triumphant return after a 1-week hiatus. Wasn't a fan of that, Corey.
Sorry. We're back on it. We are back on it.
Okay. Sounds like this baseball team's back on winning games with 9-game winning streak they have. But let's go to hoops, Corey. There seems to be like a little bubbling, rising tide going on with this program right now, where they're starting to get some traction. I think even during the telecast, I don't know if it was the telecast, or I don't know if Andy Enfield said it after the game, but I don't think it was Andy Enfield. But said that, like, I don't know if I'd want to play Florida State in Charlotte right now.
I think Luke said it.
Oh,
I don't know. No, Luke didn't say that. Maybe the telecast said that.
Yeah.
The problem is they just got a little bit unlucky.
I'm just saying, think about saying that if I would have told you that
it's
8 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's
unbelievable. Like, they are a tournament team. They're not going to make the tournament, but they are good enough to be in the tournament and win a game or two. Like, legitimately. Like, they are playing right now at the level of a 6 seed. So they could play an 11 in the first round. You win that. You could knock off a 3. Like, that wouldn't be a stunner. They could be a Sweet 16 team with the way they played the last really 2 months, honestly. It's just, the first 2 months counted too, and the first 5 games in the ACC counted, and that's where they kind of put themselves in a position where they have to win the ACC tournament to get in. And I promise that's the deal, everyone. They have to win it. They beat Cal. They played Cal in the 8-9 game. So I was going to say they got a little bit unlucky that they got really close to winning to get into the 7 seed. They needed Louisville to lose to Miami, but Louisville won at Miami on a 3-pointer in the final 20 seconds, and then a weird, ridiculous turnover by Miami. It wouldn't have ended up mattering because NC State lost at home to Stanford, which is crazy. It's crazy. What is really crazy, Aslan, is I was at that game at the Tucker Center where NC State beat Florida State by 44 points. And scored 113 points, and we're clowning Florida State and just having the biggest fun, a lot of smiles, loving life. And then those two teams have gone, they're like ships passing in the night. Florida State's one of the hottest teams in the league, and NC State's been one of the worst teams in the league here down the stretch, which is cool to see. Season's not over in January. You haven't accomplished anything in January, and you can go still win some things in January, and that's a really good lesson, those two programs right there. But the bummer is, as a 7 seed, Florida State would have gotten to play the winner of the 10-15 game and then avoided Duke in the next round if they won that. Well, they're the 8th seed, and that's just a bummer. They play the 8-9 game, which is against Cal, which they've already beaten Cal once this year, but it was by 2 points. I'm sure it'll be a close game. Cal's got good players, including Scottie Pippen's kid. And then if they win that game, they play Duke in Charlotte. And Duke is 29-2, just beat North Carolina by 20 points. That's just, that's where the season comes to an end almost certainly. Which is I was just hoping they could advance and maybe somebody else knocks out Duke. And, I don't think they're equipped for that team.
Not a lot of teams are, clearly, right?
No, but like the way they play, Boozer is going to be able to do whatever he wants. They're going to double him. And they played Duke pretty well down really well in the Tucker Center. I think it was a one-possession game in the final minute, but they gave up 90-something points, and that was a game where they hit like 14 or 15 threes. Florida State did to stay in it. And they shot really well on Saturday, too. It's not a team of great shooters, so I don't foresee them hitting a bunch of threes again if they play Duke. And it's just a bad matchup. And you're right, everybody's a bad matchup with Duke, but Florida State especially because of the size problems, the size challenges that Duke has. They would have to hit a ton of threes, and it's a new gym, and blah, blah, blah. Any of that. What is cool, though, is what they've turned into. It's too late to probably make any kind of special March run. But these last 6 or 7 weeks have been really fun, man. They were 0-5 and they finished 10-8. They go 10-3 in their last 13 games, and their 3 losses were
Virginia,
the Virginia game,
Miami.
right? The Miami game where they were tied 57-all, and then I think maybe the SMU game at SMU 83-80.
Cal is when this whole thing started, Corey, and that's who they play in Charlotte.
I thought Miami was they won at Miami, right?
They did, but then they lost to SMU right after that.
And then beat Cal,
And then they won 9 out of their last 11 from there.
That's crazy.
9
this is a pretty good league, man.
Yeah, man.
It's not a great league. Like, Pitt's not anything. And what's cool about it, too, is I know the Pitt second half was unbelievable what almost happened in that game. But, against Georgia Tech, who just fired their coach, you were up by 16 or 17 in the second half. Like, you kind of controlled that game. Against Pitt, you were up by 24 with 15 minutes to go in that game. And then, the wheels came off. But they are racing out. They have raced out to really big leads, and then they did it again on Saturday and just kind of throttled SMU for the most part. It's not just they're beating bad teams. They're beating bad teams badly, which is what good teams do. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And then SMU's not a bad team. They were without one of their really good players, and Infield made sure to note that in the post-game press conference. But they did what they were supposed to do and handled business. They're not that much better than these teams. They're not that much more talented than these teams, but they're playing like it.
And they're finding ways to win. Yeah, man, they're pulling it out.
And when you get more talent, you start thinking, okay, what will this coaching staff be able to do? Because when you look at Florida State out of those last 13 games, if they were favored in 5 of them, I think that would be a surprise to me. And even if they were favored, it's by 1 or 2 or 3 points. They were like coin flips. Like this game on Saturday, they were favored by 1.5 points. I think Pitt, they were favored by 4.5.
Okay.
Something like that. Maybe 2.5. You might be right. Georgia Tech, 4.5, 3.5, something like that. Like these are coin flip type games, and they're dominating them for long stretches. Again, doesn't mean much for this year because sadly the season will be over probably in a few days. But as you marry this coaching staff and its ability to scout, develop, and evaluate with more talented players, that could be a really fun marriage. They're out there, Aslan. You're about to find out. There are fun marriages out there. You're gonna love life, man. You're gonna love life.
Hell yeah, brother.
So that's what gets me really excited about the future. Is he's given us a reason to believe with the way they finished and the way they played, and that's just such a great turnaround. Not enough to go to the Final Four or anything, but such a really cool turnaround because it was looking like it was going to be the worst season in school history, legitimately. Because they weren't just losing games. Every third loss was a historic loss. Texas A&M, a historic loss. UMass, a historic loss. NC State, a historic loss. Georgia, like they were getting their doors blown off in some of these games, and they figured a way and turned it around. Now, most of like 82 of their points on Saturday were by seniors. So, going to have to replace a lot of production. But I trust that this staff knows what it's doing now and will replace them with productive guys and guys that fit their system.
Is it a crazy, cynical look to wonder? I don't disagree, right? Like, it makes sense. Get more talent, you'll do better. But how much of like their success is like the profile of the kid they have? Kind of like last year, this is all you clearly came to Florida State because Luke pitched you on, I can get you NBA ready. Right. And I know, like, listen, you probably came here to get your draft stock boosted and learn under an NBA caliber coach. But these guys have, come together in a way to play like a style, and they've completely bought into him because I think they're like more blue collar kind of guys. I don't want to call them like junkyard dogs, but is there any fear that once they do get that higher caliber player, those are harder personalities to manage, or should we give benefit of doubt that like what Luke has done with these on the fly year one, not a full cycle? that's rich people problems. That's caviar problems, champagne problems. Like, ooh, I got too much good talent, and they might be, they might not have the right mindset, but he can program that correctly.
Yeah, and I think the fact that he learned on the fly the way he did, where they sat down, and he said after that NC State game, they sat down all until 4 a.m, drank some beers, watched film, the whole coaching staff, and figured out what they needed to do and not do, and kind of hit a reset on everything they were doing. It took a little bit too long to make that adjustment, maybe, but they did it on the fly, and look what they turned into. And look, man, they don't have it. Robert McCray is an all-ACC caliber player, and I hope he gets some votes, and I hope he makes the third team or something. Well, he's it. He's the only one that's going to get votes. Maybe Wiggins gets some votes here or there, but he's not going to be all-ACC. They're not doing it with all-stars. But, like you said, you go to somebody in the portal and show them Chauncey Wiggins' numbers and film from when he was at Clemson, and then show them what he turned into at Florida State, and said, we can do that for you. Same thing with somebody that's going to be the lead guard if it's for take over Robert McCray, who, by the way, he's had a very good season. He's been fun to watch. He had a couple dips in one game in particular, which was just historically bad. But other than that, he's been really good. And Luke said he'd take him over any point guard in the league. I don't know if I'd go that far. There's a lot of good guards in this league, but he's one of them, and he's been a key to the whole thing. You're going to have to replace him. The Robert McCrays don't grow on trees, so you're going to have to find somebody that can do what he does, and maybe not to that level, but you're going to surround him with more talent maybe, and hopefully more shooting. But, yeah, just the way they changed their whole I don't know, man, their physicality.
The chassis,
aggression.
right? Go back to F1, the chassis. They changed the chassis mid-season.
Yeah, man, they went back to headquarters. By the way, the headquarters for these F1 teams,
oh my gosh,
they look like cities.
They're opulent.
They're unbelievable. It's like Elon's house or something. It's crazy how nice how much money's in these F1 cars. But yeah, so that again, I've said it a lot. I don't need to keep repeating myself, but that's what I trust them now, that they'll get the right personalities. They'll figure out, because they had, he took the job last March 8th or 9th. He was immediately hit the ground running, trying to figure out who was going to be on the team. Now he's not only has he had more time to scout the country and figure out guys that they might look at and want, but also the country has had time to see him and what he's done. And again, they're not going to make the tournament, but unless they go on a run, they have a chance. They just got to beat, they got to win 4 games in 4 days, including Duke and Charlotte. But it can be done. They're not unbeatable. They've lost twice. I love that there's proof of concept now with him, with what they've done with this turnaround, that the fans believe in him, which is important. His coaches believe in him, which is very important. The returning players do, but the players in the portal really believe in that guy because of what they saw him do the last 2 months. And I shouldn't say that guy, all of them. He's really good about crediting his entire coaching staff. Every time he talks about what they've accomplished, he talks about his coaching staff, and they've all done a really good job.
Curveball, or should I say drop pitch. Let's go to softball first before we talk about baseball.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Softball winners in Conway.
No.
Some people think it's Myrtle Beach, but it's actually Conway, South Carolina, where Coastal Carolina is located. I think they might have been down 4-0 in the first inning, like in the top half of the first, or the bottom half of the home half of the first inning against Coastal Carolina. I think they had a couple homers on them. Wasn't a problem. They won 20-8, 5-2 on Saturday, completed the sweep on Sunday, 17-11. Let's talk about Friday's win, though, Corey. Issa Torres had a game, huh?
Well, yeah, she had 6 hits, which was a school record. Then she had 3 hits on Saturday and 3 hits on Sunday. So, and I don't know what the Coastal Carolina softball fan base is like. It looked like pretty good crowds, honestly. They also had the number 10 team in the country in there for some reason. I don't quite understand what happened this weekend and why Florida State was playing at Coastal Carolina. But they did, and they won all 3. But imagine being in that, and they're a really good hitting team. But watching Issa Torres up close for 3 games, she was 12 out of 15. It's nuts. She had 12 hits in a 3-game series, and scored who knows how many runs. I would guess 12, 15. Who can keep track? Yeah, so good that they won. Kennedy Harp played. They've got their lineup back in full tact. Anna Hind hit a home run on Sunday. Bella Ruggiero, I think is how you pronounce her last name. She's a redshirt freshman. But she was a big deal last year as a catcher. But they had Michaela Edenfield, so she redshirted. She's hitting really well too. Like she's on fire. They've got a really good lineup. Maybe not an overpowering lineup, but a really good lineup. But we knew that. I'm kind of less optimistic after that weekend than I was before it, even though they swept them. I mean, you give up 8 runs on Friday. They give up 21 runs in 3 games. They give up 11. They gave up They were up 4-2 in that game on Sunday. Then gave up a grand slam, and all the pitchers got touched up. It wasn't just like 1 or 2. McKenna Reed, I think, actually might have been the best of the bunch this weekend. On Sunday, she was. She pitched an inning and a third and didn't give up a hit or a run. All the other ones that pitched gave up multiple runs.
She gave up 2 hits, just no runs though.
Okay, but it's like, so again, when you look at the best of the best in this country at that sport, you've got to be better in the circle. I just don't. I can't imagine, and I might be wrong. Coastal Carolina might be one of the best offenses in the country. They certainly had a couple girls that could smash. And did so all weekend. But, I just can't imagine that Tennessee or Oklahoma or Texas Tech, are going into Conway and giving up 21 runs in 3 games.
But they don't have the guts to go into Conway.
True, but if they did, maybe they lose a game. Maybe they don't have the offense that Florida State does. But I just can't imagine, the Alabamas of the world going into Coastal and giving up those kind of runs. The good news is it's still relatively early in the season. We're still early March. So hopefully the pitching will improve. Maybe the defense can improve. Whatever needs to improve, so you're not giving up those kind of runs, because you're not going to bash your way to a championship. And at Florida State, your goal is the championship. At least Oklahoma City, you're not going to bash your way to that. We saw that last year, man. I know that's an outlier because they had to face the best pitcher in the country in the Super Regionals. But those games, you win with pitching and defense in the postseason and hope you can run into a home run or two. You can't count on winning 11-9 and 20-8 or 20-14 or whatever. It's not how it's done. But still, just for the Issa Torres weekend, and one of the all-time best players in any sport in Florida State history, to be able to showcase her talents to a fan base that doesn't get to see that something like that often.
Here's greatness, everybody.
It's really cool, and I wanted to see real quick what she's batting now. So keep talking. I just wanted to see what she's batting real quick.
She had 6 runs, by the way. Here's what Coastal Carolina has done offensively against Power 4 programs this year. 1 run against Virginia, 1 run against Arkansas, 2 against Virginia the second time around, 2 against North Carolina. They beat Arizona 6-2, but then lost 2 days later, only 1 run. They got shut out against Clemson, 2 runs against Baylor, and then against Florida State, they scored 8, 2, and 11. So those are by far the most runs they've put up on a Power 4 team.
That's not great. Now, Lonnie is one of those coaches that will sprinkle in a bunch of pitchers and get them all work. I don't know if Virginia and North Carolina just rode one arm the whole game, because Lonnie's never going to do that, it wouldn't seem. She's always going to want to try to pitch 3 or 4. Maybe giving all the pitchers a chance to be in a tough road environment. Because it was maybe not the toughest team, but a tough road environment, because it was pretty packed for a women's softball game. Not Florida State notwithstanding, because they always get good crowds. But on the road, they don't. When they're playing at Wake or at Pitt, they're not facing tough, unruly crowds. So it was a little more. It was a cool energy. It was a big atmosphere. The pitchers just didn't handle the moment like you'd hope. But I just looked up. So they're 21-4 now. So not a lot to complain about, by the way. They're 21-4. They're having a very good season and are well on their way, you hope, to being a top 8 national seed. Issa Torres she's played 17 games. Did you look it up?
She had look up what?
Her batting average, because I'm about to tell you, but I wanted you to guess.
No, I did not. No, I looked at it.
What do you think she's batting? 17 games.
515?
597.
What?
She's 37 of 62. That's crazy. That's crazy. She's probably not going to finish the year batting 600. But that's just unbelievable what she does. So anyway, congrats to her. Congrats on them for getting 3 wins. It's nice to win on the road. Probably helps the RPI more than if you instead of beating them at home, you beat them on the road. Maybe that's why they did it. But yeah, the pitching gave me some concerns. Not for Florida State baseball though. Wasn't really. I thought their pitching looked pretty darn good overall.
That was a good weekend, man. I don't know the just where their standing is in the world of baseball right now, Northern Kentucky, but I know that Florida didn't have a great weekend.
No.
Some say that playing High Point might have been a what, Corey?
A low point for the season. Well, if they'd have gotten swept, that was the headline. Getting swept by High Point was the low point for Florida. But no, they showed a lot of guts to come back in the ninth inning. They were down 11-8. High Point completely ran out of pitching. High Point, for you guys that don't know, that don't follow college baseball, they beat Florida the first two games and were 2 outs away from sweeping them. But with 1 out, nobody on, they gave up a home run and then literally walked the next 7 batters in a row to lose on 3 straight bases-loaded walks.
Yikes.
Which is rough. But they still won the series, and Florida still has some real problems and concerns. They do play Florida State. The two teams get together on Tuesday. Florida State plays Florida and Gainesville on Tuesday, and then starts ACC play at Wake. So not an easy week here. Definitely not as easy as Mercer, JU, and Northern Kentucky. The competition's ramping up significantly. But yeah, it was a good weekend overall for the baseball team. I thought good week. They won 9 in a row. Yep. They won 5 in a row this week, and I thought what was the most important this weekend. Did you realize until this weekend series they had hit 10 home runs as a team total? 10.
I mean, I know you've been talking. You've been banging that drum, Corey.
So I think Georgia going into this weekend had hit 43. Georgia had a player on their team that had hit more home runs than Florida State has as a team. They always seem to have one of these guys, by the way, but Georgia does. But, yeah, I think he's at 12 now. Florida State was at 10 coming into the weekend. Well, they hit 8 this weekend, which, that's almost 3 home runs a game. It's nothing sensational. But, that's what you have to have some pop. And I did ask Link about that. Like, was he getting worried about the lack of power? And he's like, yeah, because he had talked about the weather. And the weather was different. Like, the ball was jumping on Sunday at least. Unlike
last week, I think
the Citadel games, right? Like Carnes and Putnam hit bombs that were caught on the track. Those would have been 40 feet over the fence this week. But still, you had 10 home runs in whatever that was, 13 games until this weekend. So for them to hit 8 and 3 is a good sign. And he said he's still worried about it. They do need look, if the power's not there, you have to find other ways to beat a team and weaponize your offense. I love Link's verbiage.
He's got the best, man.
Verbiage is incredible. But he's like, yeah, I'm worried about the power, and what he's worried about is the pitch selection. He's like, we're not swinging at pitches that we can drive. We're kind of in hitters counts. We're getting ourselves out of hitters counts. We're not getting into those right counts, or we're not looking for the right pitches and doing damage. He's still not real happy with the offense, even after they scored 30 runs in the last 2 games and had a 10-run first inning. But you can start to see some of the pieces, right? Like they pulled Chase Williams out of the lineup on Sunday. He's just been, I think he's hitting 170. They gave him a lot of opportunities. Braden Dowd came back. He had missed, I think, the whole week up until that game. And then he hit 2 home runs. He got walked, got hit by a pitch, and hit 2 home runs. Also hit in the 5-hole, which I thought was interesting. Noah Sheffield continues to just rake. John Stutzer had
stealing home, by the way, stole home.
Yeah,
on Saturday.
Stealing home, which was awesome. But look, man, so
they're probably not going to have Gabe Frazier for a minute, though, Corey.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
It is, but the way Bavaro's played so far, now again, it's about to ramp up. He's been hitting. He hit really well this weekend. I think he had 8 hits, 4 or 5 of them were extra bases. Made all the plays in the field, but you start looking, the guys we talked about before the season, the freshmen that we were excited about, Stutzer and Paulino. Well, you're starting to see it, man. Stutzer hit his first career home run on Sunday. In the first inning, he rips a 108-mile-an-hour single, steals second on the first pitch. The throw goes into center field. He goes to third, and then he scores on Bailey's double. So 108 off the bat, steals second, goes to third on the wild pitch, or on the wild throw into center field, and then scores. And then 20 minutes later, he's still batting in the first inning and hits 106 off the bat over the screen in right center for a 400-foot home run. He is especially fast, and he's got some real pop. There are legitimate tools there. He also made a really nice running catch. You're starting to see that, and why Link is so excited about him. Same with Paulino, although he had a couple really bad at-bats in the middle of the game. When he hits the ball, when he squares it up, he had a single in the first inning that was 108 off the bat. Then Miles Bailey, who bats third in the lineup, hits a ball off the screen at 116. I asked Link after the game, like, what are the limits of human capabilities when it comes to exit velo? And he was really interesting. He's like, look, he goes, the highest we've ever had is 118. That's about as high as it can go because of what they do to the bats. But in the major leagues, they go actually harder than that because they can swing heavier bats, and the balls are different. He said the balls are different between major leagues and college, so that you actually can get higher exit velos in the major leagues.
I would not have guessed that.
And so, because I think the limit you can swing in college is like a 34-32, like a 32-ounce bat.
Right.
But in the pros, you can swing whatever. You can swing 35 or 36, and the heavier the bat, the harder you're going to hit it. So all that
with
stuff.
Corey
Yeah,
Clark.
there's
There we go,
science. Well, and Leak was schooling me on all this stuff. But I just thought that was really interesting to think, like, okay, so what is Miles Bailey at 26 going to be able to do to a baseball if he's already 116 off the bat? 118 off the bat, which I guess is his high. Anyway, and he also hit a home run. He hit a 416-foot home run to dead center in the first inning too. He and Stutzer both had 2 hits and home runs in the first inning alone on Sunday. It was a pretty in the bat, and they just ripped the ball. There was nothing cheap about any of those hits. So yeah, that to me was the headline of the weekend. Was just especially coming after the Citadel series where you won all 3, but you scored 10 runs total, which isn't good. If you guys didn't understand that, for them to score what they did, scored 37 runs this weekend was good to see. And some of it had to do with the weather. Some of it had to do with getting people into the lineup. Putnam, golly, I'm just going to keep going. Putnam hit a grand slam, which was good to see. That's part of what he brings. And they've got, with Paulino, Sheffield, and Stutzer sprinkled around Miles Bailey, that's some intriguing stuff, man. Like, because we have no idea how good any of those guys are, right? Like, for all we know, legitimately, Sheffield, Stutzer, and Paulino are all future major leaguers. And I don't say that lightly. Paulino's bat-to-ball skills are ridiculous. He until Sunday, he had like 30 at-bats and hadn't struck out once as a true freshman in college baseball. And Stutzer, 108 off the bat with that crazy speed. And then Sheffield just rakes. And he's doing it with power now, which was my one concern. But he really he has a lot of extra base hits now. He leads the team with 22 RBIs already. Those 3 guys sprinkled around what you have in Bailey, all of a sudden you start to think, what is the potential of this offense? When you have Dowd further in the lineup, you have Carnes when he's right, you have Fisher batting 9th. Like, you got some guys that you know can do it. Those 3 dudes might be the key to the whole thing, though, right? Because we don't know what their ceilings are, but I think all 3 are supremely talented. But get ready for some. They have to get ready to see some. I'm not going to say the cuss word because I don't want you to have to hit the bleep button. But some blank they've never seen off the mound before. Starting Tuesday night against Florida.
Oh, yeah.
And then going into the heart of the ACC play, man, there are pitchers for days.
I think Wake is 15-1.
Yeah, they're good, man. They're good, and they got pitching. They all got pitching. And it's one thing to feast off Northern Kentucky and Mercer, especially midweek Mercer. It's a whole other thing to feast off the arms that Florida's going to run out at you, and then what Wake has in store for you, what Miami has in store for you, Georgia Tech, all these teams you got to face this season. They're going to go through some some growing pains, and it's going to be a steep learning curve. But man, those guys are excited. There's all 3 of those guys, and then Bailey. But Sheffield, Paulino, and Stutzer are some guys to be really excited about. And I guess I should throw Bavaro into the mix.
Yeah, Bavaro,
yeah. By the way, did you know his granddad was Mark Bavaro, the Giants tight end from the 80s that won the Super Bowl?
Is that Corey Clark sarcasm?
No, I didn't know
really?
that. Did you?
I had no idea. No, Mark Bavaro's got grandkids?
Well, he was on the 86 Giants Super Bowl team. That was 40 years ago, so yeah. But it'd be cool if FSU had that in the notes in his bio. Doesn't even mention his granddad was a borderline Hall of Fame NFL player that won a Super Bowl. Maybe won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants.
I don't know if he was on that team that beat the wide right Bills or whatever, the first of the 4
that's right.
Super Bowls.
They're the wide right that everybody thinks of when they think of football teams missing on field goals.
We should do that. Like, just, I'll go around the country in the middle of June, just go to random places, go to Des Moines, Iowa, and be like, hey, when somebody tells you wide right in football, what do you think of?
Yeah,
like Scott Norwood.
I think it depends on what town you're in. I think if you're in a college town, it's going to be They won't know the names, though. That's the beauty.
Yeah.
For Jerry Thomas and Dan Mowry and
Let's just so everybody remembers their names.
Yeah, we remember them, but nobody else around the country does. Maybe the Miami fans do.
On the pitching, real quick though, again, Northern Kentucky, don't think they were a very, robust team at the plate, and their pitching obviously did not.
But I wanted to say real quick, they did play South Carolina earlier this year, and I know this isn't like national champion South Carolina, but they won one of the games, and I feel like at least one of the other ones was close, Northern Kentucky. So they're not like a crazy pushover, I don't think. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
So Wes Mendez throws, why don't we go 5 1/3? 5 1/3, punched out 12 career high.
Yeah.
And then Chris Kinnear comes on and gets 11 other outs, and he threw less than 40 pitches, I think.
I like it.
Yeah, Kinnear gave you a little bit of flash last year, so glad to see him kind of, maybe turning a bit of a corner or getting some more consistency. Trey Beard goes on Saturday. He had 7 Ks in his outing, and then who's our guy now that goes on Sundays? Bryson Moore?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, he had 7 Ks on Sunday as well, too. So, and then the bullpen came in and did what they kind of had to do. So they got some. They threw Manny Lantigua, I think, on Sunday.
Yeah,
that would have been the first time they threw him.
He is the second appearance all year, but they threw Stokes too.
Yeah.
And Stokes had a 1-2-3 inning with a couple of strikeouts.
I think it's back-to-back outings for him that he's been pretty clean. So
and the slider is pretty gross, man. Like that's tough to hit when he's throwing it for strikes. And Link is right that could be a real weapon down the stretch if he's right, because he throws 97, 98 right now. Link keeps saying it'll be 100. It's easy too, man. Doesn't even like he's throwing hard. And then he's also got a slider that's just a wipeout slider if he can throw that for strikes. But yeah, Bryson Moore, the only runs he gave up on Sunday were after he had to sit for 30 minutes because of a 10-run first inning.
Yeah.
So I even give him kind of a pass for that a little bit. He gave up a sharp single right to start that inning, and then a sharp double off the screen. And then the kid's 2-run double was hit 77 miles an hour. It was just right down the line in a perfect spot. He didn't give up really any hard contact. And Miles Bailey made a great diving play on a ball that wasn't hit that all that hard either later on in the inning. But yeah, I think Bryson Moore's been really good for 3 starts in a row now. That's a nice Sunday arm. He's not great. He's not a first-round pick. But there aren't good. You don't think there are going to be many teams, you hope anyway, that have a Sunday starter like him. Like he's pretty good, man. He was touching 94. Got a lot of swings and misses as the game went on. That was good to see and something to build on.
Wonder what they're going to do with Peyton Manka. He's their midweek guy, and then hopefully he's like your Connor Whitaker at some point this summer.
I think Link was I was there. I couldn't quite hear who Chris was asked about, but I think he asked about Peyton, about maybe pitching against Florida on Tuesday, and he said he's still a little tender. So maybe not. So maybe Peyton Manka is still a ways away from contributing. Brody Purcell returned, didn't pitch well on Saturday, gave up a home run, but that's good to have him back too. So they got some options, just like they do in the lineup, especially when DeLon Malier gets back to health. Link's got some decisions to make, but I feel like he's got dudes that can do it. But
yeah,
again,
it's
that
crazy.
was Northern Kentucky.
We spoke for baseball for like 13 minutes, and most of it was about the offense, and we just mentioned Brody DeLamelier, and he might be one of their more like impactful power bats too. So that's exciting to think about how they can look once we get into April, May, and then hopefully deep into June. That should be the name of that sounds like the name of like a 90s alt rock band, Deep into June.
Deep into June, yeah. That's good.
What's up, everybody?
Name, yeah.
We're deep into June. Right. They always got T-shirts. I was. Deep into June.
Deep into June, yeah.
Okay. That was not a bad way to salvage your contribution to the show today, Aslan. Good job. We'll keep you on for another day. All right, so spring practice starts today. We'll put our ear to the ground, see what we can hear about how they looked. We got some sources that are at practice. We'll see what we can dig up for everybody. Warchant.com is going to have it first. So go there, subscribe, rate, review. We'll get interviews around 11:15 in the morning, so check out our YouTube channel. That's free of charge. You'll see the videos, everything that's said, but who's got the time to listen to all that? Go to warchant.com. Corey's going to do I think you're still in town, right? Corey will do like a transcription, kind of like what's been said summary.
Yeah, absolutely, of course.
That's called value add. So the subscription isn't just like come hang on the message board, which is a really cool part of it. It's getting the news more easily digested, different opportunities, different options for your Florida State fix. We're doing it for you folks over at warchant.com. Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 4 o'clock. Tune in, warchant.com, around the clock. He's Corey Maslin. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Cummins Lifestyle. Follow it on Instagram.